Hello everyone, welcome to my home studio. I am Karan Witham-Walsh, and some of you might know me from my original channel, Karan's Pots and Glass, but this is my new channel that I've just started called the Tipsy Potter. I am still going to be doing ceramic tutorial videos, but this time I'm going to have you join me with a little beverage. So today's beverage that I am featuring, this is a Finger Lakes wine from one of my favorite wineries up there. This is Swedish Hill, and this is their bourbon barrel-aged dry red wine blend. It's been kind of cold and a little dreary outside, so I thought, oh, maybe a nice red wine on this kind of a chilly evening would be a good wine to open up and share together. So, as I said, Swedish Hill is one of my favorite wineries up there, and truth be told, it is one of my favorite wineries because my future son-in-law is the vineyard manager there at Swedish Hill. So I will be featuring some of their wines and some other wines, and other beverages besides wine as well. And this is just a yummy one. I am a big fan of oaky and especially bourbon barrel aged, so I've really loved this one when I've had it in the past. And they also have a white that I will have to feature sometime too that is really, really good. So I hope you're pouring a glass with me and gonna join me in this, so I'm not gonna do this alone tonight. Oh, this smells so good. Yeah, so this is a good one to start off with my first video. So one of the reasons that I have just started this channel called The Tipsy Potter is because I am celebrating retiring from my full-time high school teaching job. I have been teaching for 33 out of 34 years at Mason schools, and I've been doing nothing but high school ceramics for the past 28 years, something like that. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful ride. I've had a great time with this. I've loved it. But now that I have retired, I feel like I can do something that I wouldn't necessarily be showing my kids. So that is why I've been kind of joking about this for years, that I wanted to do this channel called The Tipsy Potter. I don't think anyone really believed me, but I'm doing it. So I'm glad that you joined me, and I hope that you might consider hitting that subscribe button, and let's talk about what we're going to do today. So in addition to my last year of teaching, I've had a lot going on personally in my life. We've been doing a kitchen renovation. We've been getting a whole new electrical line coming in to our property, putting a transformer back closer to our barn, building an outbuilding that's going to house my wood shop tools that are coming from my dad's house, and my kilns. So we've had a lot going on. And then in addition to that, I have been making a little over 150 bud vases for my daughter's wedding that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So I wanted to show you the process that I go through in throwing these. Vases are one of the big forms that people always want to know how to do. Sometimes they struggle, and I want to point out some pointers of things that make it a little bit more easy to make them, to hopefully be a little bit more successful, how to like really kind of bring that bottom in a little bit thinner so it has more of an elegant lift off the table. So often, like my students in the past, they would want to make a vase, but those bottoms would just be so heavy and weighty. So I really like to emphasize how to take off that weight so they are very lightweight. So as I was saying, I've been making about 150 or so of these bud vases as favors for all of the people coming to the wedding. And they are made from the standard 365 English porcelain, or Graulig porcelain it might be called, but English porcelain is what I first knew it by. And I'm, for the most part, I'm leaving the forms very smooth on the outside and then adding surface design. The case on these, I had it very, very smooth. And then I want to show you the different sorts of surface designs that I'm doing. I just do different patterns in these different methods. So this one, I'll hold it a little closer. You might be able to see the texture. It has little skinny lines in there. You may not be able to see it very well. But this is a technique that is using wax as a resist and then wiping. I've heard this called wax washing. There's a lot of different names that people refer to it as. I will have a video where I show this more extensively later. But this is a really fun technique. So as you wipe it away, you're left with where the wax is. And I did texture the clay before I put the wax on with a little, I believe it's called a Hax tool. I think it's a Mud Tools Hax tool. It's got little tiny teeth. It's like a serrated rib that has teeny tiny teeth on it. Got that idea, honestly, from Dallas Wooten Potter. I bought one of his bowls a couple years ago at Ensika, fell in love with it, and wanted to try out that texture. Tried to do different things besides what Dallas did though. The wax washing or the wax resist and the wiping is one of them. Another technique is, this was just smooth and I screen printed onto a jelly plate. And again, I'll show all these later. And then I took the jelly plate and kind of wrapped it around. So the jelly plate is really flexible, so you can kind of get that on there. And again, I left the outside unglazed, and I have glazed the interior of all of these. This English porcelain has like absorption rate of like 0% or 0.1 or something like that. It's very tiny absorption rate, if any. So I could probably even get away without the clear glaze, but I just like to do that. Others, I did some alteration of just the surface. You know, I just used one of my tools to kind of create almost the pumpkin effect. And slip trailing. Slip trailing is like among one of my favorite things to do. I did all sorts of different slip trailing patterns. I really love slip trailing. And the last one that I wanted to mention was, now this was the only one that has glaze on the outside. This I carved with a scalpel and then flooded the carved lines with some really watered down underglaze. So I needed it to be really thin so it flowed into the lines. And then I waited until it was bone dry, wiped it all. And then that does kind of create a little bit of a haze. And I really needed the lines to pop, so that's why I put the clear glaze on it, because it took any of the clay that was maybe sitting over those lines and it just kind of dissolved it and makes the design really pop. So that being said, let's talk about how we're going to be throwing these. So these little guys, I would just throw them one after the other on the same bat and I would lift them off. But this time, tonight, I'm going to be using a bat system that is by Outpost Pottery. They have sent me some different things in the past, and these are really cool. I like these. They are 3D printed frames. And then I just bought some tiles. Now, you can use regular 6-inch glazed tiles, but I bought some unglazed tiles because I like the unglazed tiles because they're absorbent and the pieces release from them. Okay, pardon me. Okay, so let me just swivel this around and then we'll get going on this. Okay, so first of all, I'm using one of the Sim Batmates before I put on the Outpost Pottery frame for the tiles, because I really think that the Batmate is so helpful in keeping the tile from like wiggling around, because usually there's going to just be a little bit of play, a little bit of extra room there, and that just helps. Now, what I am doing here is I'm wetting down this tile first. That way it's not going to be super dry and suck the water out of the bottom of the hunk of clay that I put on there, because it can kind of dry up, and it can actually loosen up off the bat. So that's why I usually like to attach it after the bat is just a little bit wet. Not super saturated, but at least slightly dampened. Okay, so just like any sort of throwing, I always want to focus on getting the base of the hunk of clay centered before I do anything else. So once the base is centered, then everything else can come into center. I always tell my kids, I should say, I used to tell my kids, don't focus on the top until you get the center done, because if you focus on the top too early, you're just going to waste your time. So get it centered down near the base first. Now, while I'm thinking about this, I want to give a little shout out. You noticed my great apron there. This was a wonderful gift given to me by my dear colleagues at school. On the last day, they presented me with this beautiful photo book of just our fun times and fun memories that we had, and also presented me with this awesome apron. And my colleague Kayla, she designed it, and she knows me so well, and she is going to be the new full-time ceramics teacher, so I'm super excited for her. But I'm super excited for this new adventure because now I can make videos and I don't have to worry about making sure that I'm making videos just for students. I'm making for anyone, and I don't have to hide my wine back there. I may have been hiding wine in the previous videos. All right, so once I have it centered, then I'm going to drop my middle. Now, I admit my nails are longer than they ever typically are because I'm growing them out for the wedding. I just want to look fancy. So I did open it using my thumb, and that way that's a method that I would often teach my kids to do. It is a nice way, but it also is a way that I can do it without gouging it with my fingernail too much. Okay, so I'm leaving the base about 1/4 of an inch thick, and I want to focus on how wide am I opening the bottom. So you want to think about what is the actual base width going to look like from the outside, and open your bottom based on the exterior width that you want. Remember that the wall should always be parallel. So if the inside of the wall, is angling, the outside of the wall should angle it, and it should mirror it. So they're even. Now, once you open it, if you make a mistake and you throw it off, you can always try the recentering trick. Recentering is when you take your fingers of your left hand and your thumb of your left hand, and you're squeezing it from the inside and the outside, and then you take your right hand with the sponge on the top, and by doing that, you're creating, so like if my hand is there instead of the sponge, I'm creating a super stable channel that's locked. My elbows are locked and everything, and as long as you have locked it, you are now forcing the clay through that stationary channel, and that will recenter your wall if you manage to get it off. So like here, I'll just throw it off. So there we've got it thrown off. You can see it's all thrown off. So again, squeeze, fingers inside, thumb outside, sponge from the right hand on the top, and that recenters the wall. That is one of the #1 tricks that I tell people, learn how to do that, because you can then recenter the wall at many different stages. Okay, so now that I have it recentered, I'm going to go ahead and do my first couple of pulls, and here I'm just using that recentering sort of hand position, right? So at this moment, it sort of looks like a volcano, because eventually I am going to put a belly on this, but I want to keep that top somewhat narrow. And then after each pull, I'm just going to kind of compress that down a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and thin down here at the base So this is the thick part. I'm going to pull that up. And then I will show you a trick on how to bring it in, how to collar it in, and perhaps have a little bit more success if you struggle with that. Now again, this is porcelain that I'm using, and porcelain can be a finicky beast because you could be working along, doing fine, and then suddenly it decides it's had enough and it just goes on you, which I learned, obviously, doing 150 little vases. Now I'm going to get in there, soak up my puddle. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to reduce my speed some. Okay. And now I'm going to give it a little bit more of a belly. Belly that out some. There we go. Maybe one more try with that. Okay. Again, I'm trying not to oversaturate this too much because porcelain is a lot more picky than, say, the stoneware that I'm used to. Okay. Now I do want to get down in there, and for this I like to use this little, I think this is a Sim sponge tool, sponge on a stick sort of thing. Okay, want to make sure I'm getting my puddle out of there. And now I want to collar it in, and this is the kind of the fun thing I think on collaring it in. I used to show people like collar, do a pull, collar, do a pull, but now I have been taking like my fingers like this, where I'm actually compressing side to side, and then I squeeze it in with my other hand, if you can see what I'm doing there. Because I'm compressing side to side and the top, it keeps it from buckling and like folding, because I'm compressing it at the same time, and it really helps a lot. So let's do that a little bit more. Okay. I started to get a little twist there because I wasn't, oops. Okay, just pulled that one off. All right, so that's okay. I didn't mean to do it, but that's all right. Now we just kind of roll with the punches. Let me grab a needle tool here. I haven't even had that much wine yet. Okay. All right. So now we'll just bring this in a little bit more. And this porcelain is really fun, but it shrinks a ton, like 14%, something like that. It's a lot. You know, you start off with something that you think is pretty big, and then it comes out being an adorable little thing at the end. I like these metal mud tool ribs because they really do a great job at smoothing, getting rid of my slip. Okay. So, of course, if I were doing a larger one, it's pretty much all the same actions. I would just use maybe larger parts of my hand instead of the delicate fingertips. So the wedding is going to be at Keuka Lake up in the Finger Lakes. If you've never been up there, I highly recommend a trip to the Finger Lakes. And if you like wineries, there's wineries galore. It is the second most wine producing area of the US after California. They just have apparently the right climate and the right landscape for it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and trim off some of that. So again, my whole idea here is I'm trying to bring this bottom a little bit smaller, have it a little bit more graceful. The one kind of rule of thumb that kind of stuck with me over the years, I remember hearing someone say one time, you want your pot to look like it's lifting away from the table, not like it's growing out of the table, or in the case, the wheel head. I don't want it to look like it's growing out of that. I want it to look like it's lifting upward and it has some grace to it. Now, I usually stick these on a chum too, and I will clean it up after it gets closer to leather hard. But the nice thing again about this little tile bat is I don't even need to cut it. I'm just going to leave it on there, and I'll just take the bat and I'll move it around. Let's try one more. Might as well. Okay. I needed to have a sip first. Drink break if you need a refill. Okay, now, just like I did before, I'm going to wet down my bat. This bat is drier than the last one was, because the last one, I actually had thrown one before the one that you just saw, but I had forgotten to hit record. So this is now my third one tonight. Yeah, and seriously, I haven't even had that much wine, so. All right, just getting that a little bit wetter. Okay. Alrighty. So, in my studio, for several years, I would use Laguna B-Mix Cone 5-6, which I liked. It really was a nice clay. I liked the bright white, you know, background if I was gonna glaze and try to do something. But what I didn't like about it was I didn't like the absorption rate at Cone 5 and Cone 6. I just felt like it absorbed too much liquid. I wasn't happy with that. So my goal was I wanted to go with a clay that was a little bit better with vitrification and absorption. And so I was trying out this standard 365 porcelain. I think the next clay that I'm going to try, I think I'm going to drive down to Kentucky Mud Works and pick up some of theirs. I'm thinking of either, I forget what it was, either Coda or White Lightning. I forget. But I've heard great things about Kentucky Mud Works, but I still want to keep it porcelain because I've been doing a lot of things with like a white surface. So I want to keep it white, plus in the pug mill it just keeps it all nice and easy. Like I prefer not to have multiple clay bodies in my studio, even though I still occasionally use something. I just don't want to use multiple ones in production. Okay, recentering, and then all part of the same motion. I just start pulling it up as I'm recentering. So the the stuff for the wedding, I'm doing a whole video on that for the Pots and Glass channel. So if you want to see that, I'll be posting it after the wedding on how I made everything, because I've got, in addition to the bud vases as favors, I've made the centerpieces that hold the flowers. And I'm a little nervous because I've never done such a personal large project like this, and I've never really utilized them before, but I think it's all in theory how they're going to work. I'm pretty sure they're going to work well. Yeah, but you can check. I'll do some posts on Instagram too, so if you want to see those. My Pots and Glass page is what I use on Instagram, so I've not done anything with the Tipsy Potter on Instagram. I don't know if I will or not. I might. But thanks for joining me on this today, and I hope that you stay with me on this journey. I think it'll be kind of fun, and I'm gonna just make things that I want to make and show you guys how. Maybe try to give you some tips and explanations. Maybe interview some people. I don't know. It'd be fun though. I could. All right, so I'm getting a little thin right down there. I felt like it was starting to lose integrity there, so I'm gonna just slow it down a little bit more. Go for the belly. There we go. Ooh. Okay, all right. I think let's use that sponge. We'll get that puddle out of there. So the kind of the cool thing about these vases that I've been doing, they're not all identical. I'm literally just making a bud vase. So if I had to give my students advice on making vases, it would be, keep the bottom thin, like I was saying. Keep it taller than it is wide. Now, this is just my opinion that I like to share with them. I think it helps to create a more elegant form if you can have it taller than it is wide. When it's short and dumpy, I don't think it looks quite as elegant typically. Okay. And yeah, those are the two big ones. Keep the bottom thinner. All right, now let's bring this up a little bit more. So by doing the finger thing like that, when I bring the wall in, it really helped to minimize the little stress cracking that is easy to get with vases or spouts. Anytime you kind of collar it in, you can get like little stress folds and everything. So just by doing it with compression, I think it helped a lot. Okay, just pull those up one more time. Thin it out a little bit more. There we go. Oh, well, pulled that one off too. Okay, maybe I am tipsy. Who knows? That's what I get for talking. I don't normally talk like this as I'm working. There we go. That's what I needed. I needed the end of this to get in there so I could compress. I was trying to use my finger and my finger was too big. So, you know how I said the wedding is in the Finger Lakes? I admit that before 2021, that was the first time I ever went to the Finger Lakes. The only thing I knew about the Finger Lakes was from The Office, when Jim Carrey was talking about, he's supposed to be hiking in the Finger Lakes. And apparently that was a nod to his ex-wife's family or something that lives up there in the Finger Lakes. It's such a pretty area. But now I feel like I know a lot more about it. Especially having a daughter that's going to settle there. We'll be spending a lot of time traveling back and forth, I'm sure, over the coming years. Okay. Again, do I have to cut this off now? No, I could just wait and I could do it when it's leather hard and a chuck. I'll just get some of it off now though, just to make it a little bit easier. Oh, here's a little trick too. Okay, so see this ring that I just cut it down. Now I have this ring of clay right there. If you've ever tried to just cut that as is, sometimes it goes up and it gets stuck to the side of the pot. So here's a little trick. I'm adding a little bit of water, dribbled down so the water went right in there. Now as I cut it, it doesn't get stuck to the side of the pot. Isn't that cool? That's a nice little trick. Okay, I just dropped my rib. There we go. All right. Turn my wheel down a little bit as well. All right, so that's my little tutorial on throwing some little bud vases, and you can imagine it took me a while because I made 150 of these. And of course I still need to trim and then do surface design. So it's been a labor of love. But thank you all for joining me tonight, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed some beverage of your choice along with me. And again, I'll post the link to the Swedish Hill Bourbon Barrel Aged Red Wine Blend for you in the description if you would like to check them out. They're a great little winery up there, and I hope that you can enjoy the Finger Lakes sometime if you ever have a chance to go. And I had to come up with a good sign-off line, because with my Pots and Glass channel, I would always say, you know, stay creative and keep potting out there, which is true here, but instead I'm just gonna say stay potting and cheers to you all. If you're interested, here are a bunch of the vases that I have. This is probably only about half of them or so. Now I need to polish all the bottoms, which I've been doing that over here on my Pacifica wheel with my chuck and everything. So yeah, I've got a lot going on right now, and I'll be glad to get all the little bottoms polished and get them ready for the wedding.